Today we're going to be talking about 3 Idle Heroes myths. When I say myths, they're things that a lot of people believe to be true that are actually not. And this is really important because whether you watch me or any other content creator, it's very easy to misinterpret or pick up things that aren't necessarily correct. The most common reason for this, of course, is you watched a video that was 18 months old without realizing it and learned something that's totally untrue now. Another reason is the person making their videos is uninformed with something or doing something that's not necessarily the best practice, and you as a viewer think it's the most optimal thing to do and copy that and may ultimately hurt your progress. Likewise, there are echo chambers on the internet where people all seem to believe the same nonsense and just tell each other it's all correct, and it results in some rather silly ways of thinking. And one big thing has happened this week that's going to be part of this, and that's whether Sword Flash is actually any good. Because I keep reading in my comment sections now, a lot of you are getting very scared that the Sword Flash you just invested in isn't good. And the reason, I got rid of my Sword Flash, and now my account is drastically different. And we also have and will continue to review accounts where Sword Flash is not the main hero. So we're going to be addressing several things today, including the Sword Flash question. So sit back, get ready for some Idle Heroes myths that honestly, you need to stop believing. The first Idle Heroes myth is to do with how you build your heroes and which E5s you choose. This is one of the biggest questions that players have when they make an Idle Heroes account. Which hero should I build next? Now, in the past, I've spoken about a tactic called building the rainbow, and it's building an E5 in every single faction to get the 9-star puppet here from the Glory Challenge. That seems like a really efficient thing to do because it gets you additional food, which you otherwise wouldn't have, and it helps progress your account forwards. But the cost of doing that is, of course, using 3 9-stars and 3 10-stars to build the E5 in that faction in the first place, so it is a diminishing return. However, another reason people do that is because of the seal lands. Getting to seal land 20 in every single seal land is an important thing to do, because if you didn't know, head across to the Gate of the Void, take a look at the Void Temple, click on seal land, and you'll see that you gain additional damage against opponents in the Gate of the Void for each seal land you have cleared. Now this immediately seems like something super great. Why on earth wouldn't you want this? Well, the answer is pretty simple. Building the rainbow is not the best way to play the game, most of the time. Because, quite frankly, there are better strategies. It comes from a time where Seal Land was capped at 20. Now Seal Land goes all the way up to 30, right? So getting multiple Seal Lands cleared is actually not as important as getting one really, really deep to Seal Land 21, 22, 23, however far you can go, right? And that normally requires multiple heroes from the same faction. And that's the opposite of building the rainbow. Likewise, we've had the Cloud Island update, which encourages you to build heroes from a specific list to be tenants for someone who is Void 4. This allows a hero to perform above and beyond what they would without this, and it really allows your account to pop off. A lot of these heroes do come from the same faction. One great example is to look at Eloise. She has some fantastic tenants, and if you look at this, you'll see that a lot of them are from the Shadow faction, and therefore don't follow this building the rainbow strategy. In fact, one of my strongest encouragements to new players is to build an Eloise, a Tix, Ithaca, and a Carry, and that's 3 shadow heroes on a dark. That is the opposite of the rainbow. However, if you go and watch something like, let's say, Barry's free-to-play series or my VIP series in its early days, you'll notice that building the rainbow is something that's been implemented there. Now, in my case for the VIP series, it was a much older time when a lot of these things didn't exist and our priority in the game was slightly skewed and Glory Challenge had only just come out. In Barry's case, I don't know. It's quite a modern series, and I'm not sure why he is still trying to build the rainbow. My mind is still thinking he's going after his seal lands, but honestly, that might not be the most optimal thing for him, because doing more damage in the Void is okay. But in the Realms Gate, dealing damage to these guys, right, and smashing through, beating these things, is often just determined by how high you can get your Void Corruption. And trust me, a lot of the folks that you're beating when you've just unlocked the Void and you're a new player should be really, really easy, because the Void Corruption is starting off at 10. That's really low, and it's pathetic. You should be able to beat it with like a single E5 if it's a good E5. And once Transcendence heroes get in there, it'll get even easier. And then, of course, what's going to be a bigger bonus for you? The bonuses from the Temple of the Void for clearing your seal lands? They might help, and in fact, you should have some seal lands cleared. That's very important. I'm not discrediting seal land at all. Or what's going to be a better bonus? The Celestial Islands Cloud Island, which is going to improve the power of your team hugely. This is the better pick, right? Going after Tenants instead of heroes from different factions is arguably the best thing to do. Now, that's not to say you shouldn't think about your goals as a player, and at some point, Seal Land will be one of them. But should you be bending over backwards to strictly build a hero from each different faction? Absolutely not. And unfortunately, that mindset of thinking you need to build the rainbow can lead people to say things like this.
I want to put everything back on the Olivia, and then we need to focus on Olivia's tenants, which are really bad. Oh my goodness, are they bad? I don't want to build any of these heroes.
Now, granted, Barry was referring to Olivia when he actually meant Eloise, but he just called all of Eloise's tenants bad. Now, I don't think he immediately is trying to tell people that Tix, Ithaca, and Carrie are terrible heroes. I think he meant for his particular instance and his idea of building the rainbow, yeah, they're not heroes he wants to go ahead and build. And they're also bad for him because he doesn't have them. Well, he'd have them if he wasn't following the really strict rainbow strategy and trying to build optimally towards his Eloise. This is not to bash on Barry, but it's to show you how changing your mindset from this rainbow mindset, which is the myth, to tenant-focused building, which is what you should be doing, actually will open up your account and improve your progress. So the first myth, building the rainbow is good. Even though I've mentioned it in previous videos, I've mentioned it in account reviews, and even though Barry's putting it into practice on his free-to-play series, it's not the best way to play the game. Is it viable? Yes. But is it the best way? No. The next myth I want to talk about is artifacts, primarily Punisher of Immortal. If you go and watch any video from a year ago or later, you will notice that Punisher of Immortal is heralded as the greatest artifact in the world. It used to be really good. For most Seal Lands and most clears of anything, Punisher of Immortal would be the artifact that would make or break the hero. In fact, you could totally just slap a Punisher of Immortal and a crit attack stone on a hero and they'll perform well. You could do that for a lot of heroes. And therefore, we'd recommend it as the go-to artifact. In fact, it was considered the best first artifact for people to have, just due to its versatility. However, it's 2022, that is no longer the case, and yet we still see people chasing Punisher because they're watching old content. So I want to stress right now, Punisher of Immortal is not your best choice. In fact, what you should probably do is grab a single golden crown, so not a splendid one like this, but one that looks a little more like this, just a basic one that gives attack, HP, and damage reduction, and then put that on a hero who's more defensive. It could be a Waldeck, it could be an Eloise. There are plenty of heroes who can benefit from Golden Crown, and in fact, this is just as versatile for many Seal Land clears because your power isn't now coming from a crit attack stone and a Punisher of Immortal, but from imprints and from tenant bonuses, right? These things are huge for the progress of heroes, and you don't necessarily need a Punisher of Immortal anymore. Now, Punisher of Immortal has its place. It is a damage-dealing artifact, but so too is Melodic Strings, and Melodic Strings is far superior. It gives you an active skill in round 1, boosts your holy damage, your attack, and also if you upgrade it, it increases your damage dealt. This is considered one of the, if not the best artifact in the game for dealing damage, and I love it. I cannot stress to you how fantastic a Melodic Strings is, mainly because of its synergy with a hero like Sword Flash. Now, it's been difficult to recommend Melodic Strings in the past because it hasn't been given away to free-to-play players very often. It's been a very difficult paywalled artifact. But now, if you take a look at the anniversary event that we've got, which is sadly coming to an end today, so I'm just going to check in and grab my final scrolls and cry a little inside. But if you take a look at the artifacts that people have been getting, Melodic Strings is available, and this is not the first time they've given Melodic Strings for free. No. In fact, I don't think it's going to be too long until if you go to the Relic store and Melodic Strings gets added to this. I mean, we freaking want it. DH Games, gimme. Please, I want to see Melodic Strings in here because my free-to-play brethren need it. Because Melodic Strings is the artifact of choice once you've got that Golden Crown. And I know I've said before that you should be chasing Demon Bells. This is still true. Demon Bell is a absolutely game-breakingly good artifact, energy feed that it allows you to do by making your faster heroes feed energy to your slower heroes. Really strong. Or even, in this case, you can use Melodic Strings with Demon Bells. Now let me explain to you how that works. Many people struggle because their Sword Flash is too fast, and they're like, how on earth do I make the Demon Bell heroes faster? The answer? You don't. You put Melodic Strings on Sword Flash, and that's how she gets an active skill round 1. And then your Demon Bells and your Ignis will feed energy into your Sword Flash, making her more powerful, giving her an active skill in round 2, and because she had an active skill in round 1 and hopefully killed someone because you debuffed them with Drake, you'll be able to do impeccable flow, hitting the whole opposing team and dealing a ton of damage. Now, Melodic Strings, if you were paying attention, gives you an active skill in round 1, and I said Ignis. That's right. If you guys have a 10-star Ignis, her active skill feeds 100 energy to your team, which is pretty good. Also, if she dies, it feeds 100 energy to your team. So you could technically have an active skill fed for round 2, and then she'll die in round 2, and then you get an active skill for round 3 as well. At no point in this strategy of using melodic strings and an Ignis do you even need a Demon Bell. So if you really wanted the bare bones cheapest way to have energy feed on your account, you can actually do it just fine by getting an active skill round 1 with melodic strings, an active skill round 2 thanks to Ignis, and then if she dies, round 3, which is pretty darn nuts. So if you wanted to go ahead and implement that on your account, I think that's a really cool thing to do. So free-to-play players, look out for melodic strings. It's a really crucial artifact moving forwards. Not to mention, you'll be using it for ages because it is one of the best damage-dealing artifacts, an artifact of choice for many Transcendence heroes, and just ultimately a very strong addition to your account. So it won't hurt you to go for melodic strings first before you go for Demon Bells, because the function of Demon Bells is also being fulfilled by melodic strings and an Ignis. And then once you add Demon Bells to your account, things get extra gnarly, because not only are you getting tons of energy feed from Ignis and melodic strings, you might even be able to move away from the Ignis and then rely on some stronger heroes, because the Demon Bells feed energy in either way. So there you go. That's a conclusion to the second myth. It's whether you should go for Punisher of Immortal as a first artifact. No, I actually hate Punisher of Immortal. I think it's terrible because melodic strings exists. And as I said before, because it's now frequently available to free-to-play players, melodic strings is definitely the choice. Now, the final myth I wanted to talk to you about is a little more controversial. This is whether Sword Flash is a bad hero. A lot of people in those echo chambers I've told you about before, where they all start talking to each other because they all find the similar opinion, will probably turn around to you and say, well,
MKxJUMP decided that he was not going to have a Sword Flash on his account anymore, and if you luck, Transcendence Jara has the best tree of origin, and in Barry's free-to-play series, he went with Vesa as his first Transcendence hero. So basically now, that's evidence enough that Sword Flash is a bad hero. You shouldn't build Sword Flash.
Sure, there's going to be people with that opinion, and they probably might sound like that. Who knows? But that's not true at all. Sword Flash is still an excellent first Transcendence hero, and because Melodic Strings is now being more frequently available to free-to-play players, she's actually better as a first Transcendence hero than she's arguably ever been. Because if you go into your artifacts and pick up a Melodic Strings, like I mentioned before, it unlocks energy feed for you. You don't need to get 8 Demon Bells anymore. You can just do it with a Melodic Strings and an Ignis. It's fantastic. Now, we knew this was the case for months. It was just, I wasn't sure whether I wanted to recommend it to you because, well, let's be honest, getting Melodic Strings as a free-to-play player 3 months ago, really difficult thing to do. But now, totally easy. So yeah, free-to-play players, get hype. Melodic Strings is going to make your time a lot easier building Sword Flash. In fact, you could just make it glittery, right? You just get 2 of these bad boys, you still get a boost to your all damage dealt. And then, boom, Ignis, let's go, pop off 2 active skills from Sword Flash. She's going to be doing her thing. So you can, in theory, totally ignore Eloise and go with a Sword Flash-based account and have a great time. You know, you can do it if you know what you're doing and you build the correct energy feed. Rogans, Drakes, etc., etc. So Sword Flash is still functionally really good. And just because updates have come out that have allowed heroes like Eloise to push ahead, and Eos to do things that she wasn't able to do before, and Jara now with her Tree of Origin being a really nice PvP hero and late game CC hero, not that she wasn't already, it's just improved her consistency, you know, these heroes are now getting pushed into the limelight. The problem being, Sword Flash was in that limelight and she's getting pulled away. Now, because Sword Flash is becoming less popular, doesn't mean she's any less powerful. Popular opinion and the ability of a hero do not go hand in hand. Sword Flash can still easily clear you to Vanquisher. In fact, there's a video of me doing Vanquisher with a Sword Flash. I didn't use a Jara, I didn't use any of that stuff. I just used Sword Flash with basic principles of energy feed and cleared it. It was very strong, it was very satisfying. So if you are building a Sword Flash on your account, it's a myth, it's a lie, it's nonsense for someone to turn around to you and go, well, Sword Flash is bad. I actually heard of people whose guild was saying, oh, you shouldn't build Sword Flash, you should be building Vesa, because all they've done is watched a video where it said Vesa was the best first Transcendence hero. And it's this kind of nonsense quip statements like, Vesa best trans, or, oh, Sword Flash sucks. You know, it makes for good clickbait, but it's technically misleading. So you need to actually not be led astray by the people who will just lap that stuff up and sheep their way through it. Sword Flash is still fantastic. She still does impeccable flow. She still heals herself. She's still oppressively strong. And sure, she still loses to Amon-Ra's Healing Curse, and she hates getting energy stolen by carry, and Garuda will bonk her, assuming Sword Flash has lost her dodge. But these are all things that were true of her anyway, so, I mean, it's not like that's changed. She's still just herself, and she's still just as good as she ever has been. It's just that other heroes have uses now and are able to do things that Sword Flash was exclusively able to do. And the main problem with Sword Flash is how difficult it is to build a team around her. But if you take the right paths, getting a Rogan, a Drake, getting energy feed with an Ignis, your Sword Flash can perform nicely. The only thing I really dislike about Sword Flash that I want to just leave you with as a thought is if we talk about tenant-led progress, right? Looking at heroes with tenants, I don't like Sword Flash's tenants. And I imagine a lot of you can share in my pain here. Having to build a Fiona is annoying, right? Because sure, she's going to help you out in the Seal Land. That's nice. But I'd rather a MKxJUMP if I wanted to help out in the Seals Land. He is not a tenant here. That's annoying. All right. Halora is good and Aspen is good. They're nice Transcendence picks. They're good for a second Transcendence hero. This is the redeeming one. Tenant spot 2 is really nice. If you go ahead and build Sword Flash, then Halora, awesome, right? That's really common practice. That was like 101 how to play Idle Heroes was to go Sword Flash Halora or Halora Sword Flash. But that's like the original strategy. There's loads of other ones now, like going for Fairy Queen Vessa and Eos or even Freya, right? There's some really cool stuff you can do. So it's not limited to this by any means, but no, Tenant spot 2 is good. Even Sherlock's in here, and I definitely like Sherlock. But then it just goes downhill. Look at Tenant spot 3. Onkiramaru and a Nosuke. Yikes. Right, this is like a Nosuke's saving grace because it actually makes him an interesting pick as a hero on your account because you can use him as a tenant in the long run. Onkiramaru as well is a pretty versatile tenant, but still, they're not going to benefit your account, right? They're still really bad, right? You build them as a tenant and that's it, or do maybe like a Seal and 20 clear with them and that's you done. It's not that exciting. And then finally, tenant spot 4, oh boy, right? Gloria. Dreadful. And then Asmodel the Dauntless, really not a Transcendence hero you should be chasing early, and it just makes life awkward for Sword Flash users because they have to build heroes that are kind of trash rather than building heroes that are pretty good, which is why I still encourage you to go for Eloise as a homeowner because, look, despite what our friend Mr. Barry Gaming said, which was objectively untrue, Eloise's tenants are really good. Ithaca, really good Broken Spaces hero. Okay, Tenant spot 2 sucks. Let's just move on. But then again, Jara's in there, so, you know, you can make a Transcendent at some point if you wanted. But Tenant spot 3 ticks. Like, come on. Really good hero to assist Eloise in Seal Land. Great for Aspen dungeon clears. Really solid hero. Not to mention, in the Realms Gate, his Silence and Horrify and his attack steal might actually help. Pretty cool. Also, when he's dead, he still damages people, so Eloise's sustain, even when the rest of your team has died, Tix is still doing something. It's nice, because Eloise ain't dying. She's sticking around, right? If something's killing Eloise, everyone else is dead first, trust me. And then finally, Tenant spot 4, Carry. Amazing hero for energy steal. Amon-Ra, a beautiful hero for bubbles and protection and healing curse. And then Freya, actually kind of good, because Freya, and if you look earlier on, Flora as well in Tenant spot 1, they're actually Vessa tenants. Look, I'm not even joking. You gotta, where is she? Flora's there. Freya's there. So if you were going to transition from Eloise to Vessa, you've already got half your tenants covered. So if someone turns around to you and says Eloise has bad tenants, they're lying, mate. And obviously, that comparison between Eloise and Sword Flash still remains. And Sword Flash, yes, as I said, has wonky tenants. I don't like them. I think they're annoying and they make people have to make suboptimal decisions on their hero choices. But still, if you wanted to go for Sword Flash, those are decisions you have to make. And it's the same for every hero. All heroes have bad tenants. It's just the truth. But your tenants should be something that you're going ahead and building. So hopefully that's kind of answered a few questions that a lot of people have had about the game. And they all play into each other, by the way. You see that? Like tenant-led stuff with a Sword Flash, with a melodic strings. The 3 myths work together as well. So we're at the end of the video now. I'm going to wrap up and just conclude by saying the Rainbow Strat, it's a myth. You don't have to do it. Tenants are better. Artifacts, don't build Punisher of Immortal. Not that great. Melodic strings, really cool. Energy feed still matters. And then Sword Flash is still good. Period. She's great. She still does everything she did. And if someone turns around and says she bad, they're wrong. They're just sheeping, right? They are just sheeping. If someone says she's bad, ask them why they think that. And then say, did you watch a video where MK got rid of it? And then if they go, just ignore them. right? If their opinion is coming based off of something that I did, then they're not thinking for themselves, and they're probably being a sheep. So yeah, just be careful. Sword Flash is still very good. Don't become deluded. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully this answered a lot of your questions, and I really hope it's addressed a few things that some people were getting a bit worried about or concerned about, and maybe if you've been deep diving into my older videos, it's ironed out a few creases in your brain. Either way, folks, it's been a pleasure. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great end to your anniversary, and happy idling.